All right. Hi, everybody. So welcome to the Omni Open Studios Patreon launch event. My name is Gwyneth, and I'm going to be our host this afternoon. Before we get started, I want to go over a couple of viewing options for you guys that might make it easier to see what's going on during this event. So one of the things that I want to recommend is to view in gallery view, which the difference between gallery view and speaker view is during speaker view, we switch back and forth between the people speaking. In gallery view, you get to see me and the artist side by side. And so if you're on a desktop, the way to find this is there's a little button up in the right-hand corner that says view. You can click on that, and there's an option to select gallery view. If you are on a tablet or a phone, well, if you're on a tablet, you can go to the left-hand side and there'll be an icon for that as well that says speaker view currently. You can click on that and switch it over to gallery view. If you're on a phone, you basically have to swipe over to like the last screen, and then you'll see multiple boxes when you get there. And then you'll also notice that there's just a ton of black rectangles on your screen if you have the hide non-video participants turned off. So if you want those to go away so you can just see the people who are talking, you can turn that off by using hide non-video participants. So on a desktop, you do this by clicking on one of those rectangles in the upper right-hand corner. There's a little ellipses. Click on that, and it'll give the option to do that. If you're on a phone or tablet, there's a section that says more on your screen, which is basically like the settings menu. And there's an option there for you to change it over from show non-video participants to show non-video participants off. So anyway, just a couple of quick tips there. Maybe give that a try. So I would like to talk to you guys about Omni Open Studios and what we're all doing here. So the main goal of Omni Open Studios is just simply supporting artists. So what we do in order to facilitate that particular goal is we offer artists resources for transitioning from showing their work in person to having online shops and doing things online, which is something that's necessary now during the pandemic when we can't do in-person events. So I help artists with questions that they have about their shops. I offer them suggestions about how to set up their shops and possibly how to promote them as well, depending on, how established the artist is. We also facilitate sharing of audiences, which is what these events are. So basically the idea is that each artist has their own audience they bring to the event, and then those audiences kind of cross-pollinate, and people get exposed to different artists, and artists get exposed to different audiences. We also do video recordings of each of the events, as well as we're going to start doing artist videos starting in December, which I will talk about later in the event. But basically, the artists get these recordings from the events that we do, and they can put them up on their website or their social media and use them as promotional tools. In addition to all that, the main goal is to promote their online shops. So we send the audience from an event like this to their online shops so that they can get money for making the beautiful things that they make. So that being said, I would also like to say that today we have an option for tipping the artists. So if you want to offer a little tip for people who have taken time out of their day to come here and talk to you about their art, we have an option for that on our event page, which is the page you used to get here. We also have a link for that in the program, so you can go and find that and get back to the page there at the end of the event. And you can go there. It says tip the artists. It's very clear. You can click on that button and you can make a little contribution to the artists of Omni Open Studios. And yeah, I think I'd like to start by doing our first raffle. The raffles are like one of the coolest parts about this. Let's get it going. So let me bring up my screen share. Okay, so today the first raffle are these beautiful 4x6 prints. You get to choose 2 of the 3 here. And this is from Jess Graff's Mystic Mini Print Collection. And so the way that the raffles work is you're going to go into the chat when I announce it. You'll see a little line will pop up. And then you're going to put your name and your email underneath that line. You have 5 minutes to enter your name and your email to win these beautiful prints. And then I'm going to announce the winner after the next artist. So the raffle is now open. Go enter your names, do it now, and put your emails with it too, because we need to be able to contact you. So please go and do that. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our first artists. So Renee and Claire, would you like to join me? So we have Renee Bertholetti and Claire Townsend, who are part of a painting duo. Hi, everybody. You're joining us from New York.
Yeah, separate apartments,
Separate apartments because of COVID,
Queens in Brooklyn.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us and contending with time zones to be here and talking about your work with us. So you guys do these really interesting abstract paintings that are based on environmental goals, basically. They're environmentally influenced, I should say.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, right down to the materials. We started this collaboration and we were going to do a traditional gallery opening, but due to COVID, we switched plans and did this live performance where we were.
When was the live performance? It was a while ago now.
It was in July.
In July. Okay. So yeah, that's like the height of the COVID situation. So no gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we did this live performance where we ended up painting each other's costumes. And so here you can see sort of the before and after, the rehearsal image and after the performance. And
yeah, we had denim jumpsuits that we painted each other's, and then also we had like silk scarves that we were wearing, which you can see a couple of here. We used them around our heads and also as like painting mops to mop up like the spill from the paint. And so they're really like this nice like long silk scarves that we ended up being able actually to cut up and kind of composition into paintings, which we did the jumpsuits as well. I think we did 8 different paintings from all of the silk scarves. So, and because they were silk, we're having to find different ways to be able to paint on them. Renee has like some silk painting experience. And so she actually made some frames that we were able to stretch the silk onto to be able to paint on them. So they weren't touching the underneath or taking any of the ink up from anything below them.
So to be clear, the materials that you had from the jumpsuit and then from the scarves, you then took these, cut them into rectangles, stretched them over frames to create the pieces that you're selling now, and then you painted on top of the already painted from the event material.
Yeah, correct. So it's almost like a sustainable art project because we
so cool.
reused the costumes,
Absolutely.
I actually have a little screen share of the silk being stretched.
Sure, yeah, let's see that.
On.
So the silk has to be stretched because of the nature of the material.
Yeah, basically the water ends up sort of pooling on the surface and creates these like little patches that are, it's not what you intended. Whereas the denim could be mounted and then painted. The silk really needs to be stretched first and secured with all these pins to the, to the twine that's around the frame, and it needs to be stretched tight. And then we would mount them to the little mini canvases. Some of them are like 4x6, 5x7. But all in all, we ended up with 21 little paintings, each inspired by an individual coral. That one that you saw is Orbicella faviolata, or mountainous star coral.
And that was the process video that we just watched.
Yeah, exactly.
You can tell us a little bit about the painting technique that you used to create. Like, I can see there's a really, like, if you hold it up again, you can see like there's a very distinct pattern. Can you tell us about how you created that?
Well, you can like sort of see in the backdrop, we've got these washes, and then for these sort of stronger colors, there's like a little bit of gesso mixed in with the paint. But we also used ink, and we did some spattering techniques, harkening back to.
Yeah, also the process is like we end up going back and forth. So we splattered with gesso, and then the next person that took it to paint a little more would paint into the gesso with inks or acrylics. And so you can see some of the gesso, the little spots have like a tint to them, which is where we had the layering of like the slightly translucent acrylic ink over the top of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was our process. Is we would basically kind of go back and forth between them, letting some of the silk dry while the other person took it on and painted a little more on a different one, and then go back and forth that way.
So it's almost like a paint conversation that you guys are having back and forth as you go through each of the steps.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It's hard to collaborate in isolation, but
yes.
We've determined to find a way.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things about this whole experience is people are coming up with new ways to continue creating under the circumstances, but it's almost like you get new like things out of it. So like the idea of this conversation, like that's that's really cool and inspiring to see that. Speaking of inspiration, can we hear a little bit
Yeah.
about, that was not planned. Speaking of inspiration, can we hear a little bit about the coral that influences these paintings?
Yeah, so like for me personally, a lot of the inspiration came from like scuba diving. I'm an avid scuba diver, and a lot of the a lot of the diving schools now are starting to develop their own nurseries, just because of like the nature of the coral being so endangered. Like putting some money into diving schools, they're trying to put it back into helping more coral grow and regenerate more coral. It's like the coral is like thousands of years old. 5,000, I think, is the typical number for like black coral. And in the space of 100 years, I think we're gonna like lose almost half of it. So, so they basically would tell us a little bit about endangered coral as part of that process, taking us down to the nurseries. And then, so when we decided to do this project, I actually looked at the red list, the IUCN red list, which is a list of species all across the world that are threatened, endangered, or vulnerable. And so we chose the 21 corals just from that list. And one of the ones I like really responded to, and that is Peckyceras rugosa, which is called castle coral. That's kind of its colloquial name. And I used to live in Singapore, so that was kind of close to my heart, in that there's a lot of coastal coral very near to Singapore and the islands all around it. That is, oh yes, you can see some more close-up details of it. Yeah, this is like the gesso that's kind of splattered over the top of it. Yeah, like these beautiful colors. And this was actually the pictures of the original coral, so you can see it actually is like kind of like a maze.
Pulled right from it, yeah.
Yeah, all around Singapore. So, and this one particularly is endangered because of the fishing practices around. There's like a lot of the steel traps they use for fishing drag along basically the floor of the ocean and pull up the coral. And also those shipping lanes going through, having similar issues with rudders and just destroying kind of the coral around there. And those are like two of some of the major reasons that coral is being threatened. Bleaching is one of them, which I think we had talked about a little bit on our last one.
Yeah.
And also poaching too. So that is another thing that's really endangering a lot of coral species, which I think Renee is going to talk more about, the poaching.
Sure. So that's kind of all of this concern, like your personal experience doing the diving, and then like hearing about how, you know, badly impacted the coral in our oceans are by what's happening either environmentally or just from human action, has sort of brought you guys to this project. And so what are the goals of the project, would you say?
We really wanted to raise awareness about this issue that's really close to both of our hearts. We both have a deep affection for the ocean, and so like 70% of the Earth's oxygen is created by marine plants, and these marine plants live in coral reefs, which are like really susceptible to, you know, the global warming process, but also, like Claire said, like poaching and habitat degradation by humans. There's this black market for black coral, which black coral market, which is kind of wild because it's an endangered species and it doesn't make particularly strong jewelry. It's actually really brittle, and so the black coral was actually the inspiration for one of my favorite paintings, Parenthipathes.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it really, you know, shows the color palette that we used a lot, the teals and the sort of mauve, which doesn't show up great in my apartment because it's a little yellow in here, but I do have some detail shots of that one.
Great, let's see 'em.
Yeah.
I love the detail of, there's kind of like a spidery detail on there that looks like it actually is a piece of coral that we're looking
Yeah,
at.
definitely. This one came out like a little bit more literal, I feel, than some of the others that tend to be like really, really abstract. This one to me is one of the more literal coral pieces.
Yeah. Can we bring the last slide back for just a second?
Oh, sure.
Sorry, I feel like we didn't get to see it very well. Oh yeah. Yeah, and I
Um,
also I feel like your abstract paintings, they kind of come off as almost like they're underwater is definitely like the vibe that I'm getting from them as
mhm.
well. Um,
Yeah, a lot of really soft washes,
mhm.
and sort of, you know, this aquatic kind of nature to it, that like the bubbles and the airiness of it. And it's something that Claire and I sort of happily struggle with, is we each have these very different painting techniques,
Mm.
that we, you know, try to incorporate together. She tends to do these really beautiful washes, and I tend to go in a little hard and heavy with like a lot of paint.
Right. Which is,
Mm.
yeah,
Well,
which gives you guys a unique result.
Hmm.
Sorry, Claire, what did you say?
yeah, I think like, yeah, we do different levels of detail in different ways. Like mine's like more washes and Renee's is more like a tighter detail. So the going back on and forth, and that ends up with like really lovely layers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I feel like too, the black coral is one of the ones that really looks like the research image, you know, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
those spiny
So
arms.
black coral, no, it's not totally black. It looks like the like central stems of it are black, and then there's like these white. Am I right in what I've interpreted from the photograph?
Yes, it's not
Yeah.
actually black. I
Okay.
believe it's actually deep browns and purples
Oh,
in
okay.
real
Okay.
life.
But it's like darker than most coral, so that's probably how it gets its name, I would assume.
Mhm.
Lovely. Well, thank you. So all of these paintings that we just saw, they are in your shop right now,
Hmm.
which you can go to by going to the page that you used to get here. You can get to it through the link that we've posted in the chat in the program, and you can go and purchase one of these beautiful paintings. They're all miniature, which is
Hmm.
great because, you know, some of us live in these little tiny apartments. We just don't have wall space for great big paintings, but having like an adorable little piece of color that just gives a little splash to your wall. I mean, they're just perfect for that.
Yeah, apartment-sized art, and you know, they're pretty affordable. I think they're the least expensive one we have right now is like 38 or 42 or something, and I think the highest is 65.
Perfect for
And
holiday gifts. It's right in that price.
yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us. This was a beautiful little presentation. I loved seeing the inspiration and going into more detail with these pieces. So we did
well,
another
thank you.
video. Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you. We did another video for our September event that you can go and find on our YouTube page, and go and find their video there if you'd like to hear more about their project. Um, what's the name of the project again, Renee? Well, I have
Aqueous
Aqueous
isolations.
Isolations. There you go. I'm always nervous
Yeah,
about pronouncing aqueous because I'm like, I gotta hear it first. It's these
or
Latin
aqueous.
words, they're very intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah, all these corals have these crazy Latin names, and we ended up sort of adopting them more to the common names, you know, mountainous star and
Mountainous, yeah. Mountainous star coral, black coral, things that every regular human can pronounce. Well, thank
right.
you so much, Renee. I really appreciate you being here. And you
Thank
too.
you.
You've already vanished, but I still appreciate you. All right. Okay, so just a quick reminder, you can go to the event page and find those links there. And then also, if you have questions for the artists, we have the chat open for that. So if you want to ask the artist questions, they can respond to you through the direct chat, or they can respond to you in the chat there. So go ahead and ask your questions if you have any. So let's announce the winner from our first chat. Let's see. So, or from not our first chat, our first raffle. Excuse me. So it looks like the winner of those beautiful miniature prints from Jess Graff is going to be Jackie. I don't have your last name, but it looks like the email is Jacker Hannah. So that's you, Jackie. You know who you are. This is your email, and you have won yourself a pair of beautiful mini prints. All right, so what do we have next on the raffle list? Let me take a look. Let's bring up the screen share. All right, so those are the prints. And then, oh, let's advance. Aha, okay, so we have this beautiful 10 by 10 print of Uncle Sam's Nephew Miles by Gavin Bruce. And let's go ahead and open up the raffle. You got 5 minutes. Please give us your name. First and last would be helpful. And then also your email, just so that we know who you are in case there's a whole bunch of you and there's more than one of the first name. That'd be fantastic. Thank you so much. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring up our next artist. So let's stop the screen share. And Jess, would you like to join us? Hi.
How's it going?
You have all of the things up, including the Christmas tree.
Yes.
Very holiday appropriate.
Yeah.
And I see you have, these are all the lapel pins here are
Yeah, so that's
lapel pins.
that's one of the lapel pins. Got a couple of the other ones, the pollen, the camping, and also the river goddess or the salmon.
I love a good pin shirt. I have
Yeah.
one of my jackets is my pin jacket, and every pin goes on that jacket essentially.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
canvas of lapel pins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those
That's
particular
fantastic.
lapel pins are done from your cut paper designs.
Right.
Right.
And it's a little bit closer.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's a much
detail.
more detailed shot.
Yeah.
So these guys are in the shop right now, and they're done from Jess's cut paper designs. And today we're going to talk about ceramics, but if you missed it, she was here for our September event, and we did do, and there is on our YouTube channel, you can go and find the video about how she does her cut paper designs. So let's go ahead and talk about the ceramics though.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have a couple pieces you'd like to show us before we take a look at the demo?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things recently has been making these really detailed starfish. They've been really popular. One of the colors sold out in less than a week.
Oh my gosh, I'm not surprised.
Great.
They're so cool.
So there's still a few more of the remaining colors in the shop. So if starfish are your thing, if you're interested in oceans, taking a look at those sooner than later is probably a smart plan.
Yes, and
the next batch as well.
Those guys hang on the wall. I see one behind you.
They do, yeah. I've got one hanging up on the wall here. Just really simple hanging system. So you don't have to be a great art installer. little tiny hole. You just put a nail in the wall.
Right.
Hang right.
Lightweight,
So
goes
really
into
easy.
drywall. You don't have to worry about a stud finder.
And they're really nice and light too. So they're designed to hang in whatever way I thought was the most attractive organization of limbs for them.
Now that's something interesting to think about because like, you know, as a person that's not making them, you don't think about the fact that you have to make a decision about which direction the hole on the back is going.
Right.
So that's part of your process, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of the process. And that's also the case with things like the abstracted female forms. So figuring out how they're going to hang is really important because if you put the hole in the wrong place, you're going to end up with things sort of tilted.
A jaunty lady. Not that there's anything wrong with a jaunty lady, but.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
And sometimes I pick the jauntiness on purpose. So.
Yes. Well, and then one of the other really appealing things I've seen you do with the starfish is arrange them in like kind of a collection of like three or five or something of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a really nice way to fill out a bathroom wall.
Yeah, or those like little spots in hallways where
or that one pesky wall that's like this wide. That's like, what do I do with this?
Exactly.
That is where you put the starfish. That's what you do with that.
And they come in a variety of different sizes too. So they're sort of between about 2.5 to 6 inches. So if you get a collection of them, you can kind of arrange them.
Yes.
It feels more organic.
Very cool. Well, let's see how the starfish are textured.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and I'll switch over to a screen. So you'll be looking at my table over here. All right, so at this point, you should be able to see some tools here. I have some different texture rollers. This is one of the texture tools that I use when I'm making starfish and many of the other sculptures that I make as well. Also sometimes use things from nature. So whether that's seed pods or shells, whatever the best tool for the particular piece I'm doing. Because in addition to doing the starfish, I do the figurative sculpture and I do larger sculptures as well. So I've got a couple starfish that are in process here. They're kind of early on in their process. So I would have to make sure I'm smoothing out all of the cracks, really making sure that that clay is also at the right moistness, the right dampness.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep.
clay really has a limited workability for the kind of applications I'm doing.
Right. And if it gets too dry, it starts to crack and get
Yep.
like kind of like little chunks will come off. It's
Right,
not
absolutely.
I'm
So
also
I spend more time smoothing usually, but
yes.
we'll kind of go straight to this. So
Well, that's
to
okay. Demo.
some of the textures, I'm just going ahead and rolling across.
Oh, look how cool that looks. And the funky thing about the little texture guys is that it's the negative version of what you see on
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So some of these are commercially produced. Sometimes I make my own rollers as well. So you kind of have to think in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing, rolling.
Like
So
that, this
really careful not to
little-
lift up the rollers because the textures end up sort of wonky. Is that
Oh yes, you want to apply consistent
Yeah.
pressure when you
Yeah, exactly. And while at the same time kind of trying to, for me at least, make them look a little bit more organic. What Renee and Claire were saying really resonates with me as well. I live out in Astoria, Oregon, which is on the Oregon coast. And when I was a kid, there used to be so many starfish in the tide pools. And as I've grown up, there's really been fewer and fewer and fewer. And I've always been really fascinated with them. So that's how I started making these too.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit more work left to do on this, but that's sort of the basics of how I start getting the textures that I'm looking for to be able to have finished projects later on as well.
Okay.
That's one of the ones that's gotten glazed, it's gotten finished up. Yeah, we'll stop share now.
Yeah. Oh, real quick for the one that you just showed, but you can lift it up.
Yeah.
Which texture roller goes with that particular?
Yeah, so this texture roller, that would be this that sort of bubble texture roller to get that sort of bubbly texture. Yeah, the starfish have all sorts of different textures as well. I'm going to go ahead and clean my hands off here. The chocolate clay I use, it's called Trail Mix dark chocolate, which sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Really stains my hands, so I'll do a
yes.
little wipe before I move on to holding other things up.
Fair enough, especially because all of your stuff is like this precious porcelain that's very white and
exactly
does not need big chocolate clay stains on it. That's fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so much for showing us the process for that. It's really interesting to see the way that the textures lay down. And I think people probably don't realize exactly how much like consistency you have to make one of those textures successful, even on an organic creature like a starfish. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. And then also
totally unique too.
Yeah, each of them is completely unique. It's part of the organic nature of it. And then when you create something that's organic, there's also like a tendency, I think, with humans to try and make things symmetrical. And so you kind of have to struggle with like, how do I make this, be random and not like, if you ever tried to make a random pattern or something, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The limbs
I saw a question about whether I have my own kiln, and I actually don't.
Yes.
So I fire my ceramic pieces usually through community studios, which is a great way to meet people, but it does mean that my pieces are more limited run than they might otherwise be.
Yes, and you're still firing through the same place that we were firing at in St. John's, correct?
Yeah, St. John's Clay Collective.
We can give them a little shout out. Yeah, this is when I was living in Portland, that's where I fired as well. They're a great little studio for firing small batch ceramics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, let's take a look at some of your other products. So
yeah, absolutely. So we showed those earlier, the mini prints, but I have a lot of other designs as well. So I've got some more designs for nature lovers, and I think you can see this, the slug and the plants. I've also got some more house plant styles, so those are great as well. Insects, I'm just fascinated by all things in the natural world. I have my mermaid, which has been quite a popular one too. As well as stickers. So it's a great addition for small gifts or gifts to the coworkers or children as well, and the ornaments as well. So lots of different shapes and textures of ornaments for the.
Could you hold up a couple of the ornaments? Because like, especially the ones with the crackle texture, because I'd love to talk about, we were talking about textures, but also textures are achieved through glazes as well.
Yeah, so that's one of this is a glaze that I really enjoy. I really like the textural quality of it. It reminds me of frosting or something sort of icy and beautiful.
Very appropriate for winter.
Also, just some smooth ones. There's ones that have crackle. There are some pieces that have sort of a combination where I've done layers of underglaze and done sort of a paint and then added a glaze or a crackle over the top as well.
Really fun.
There's a wide variety. And the way that they're offered on my shop right now is that you can select either a regular size or a mini size, and you can get 1, 5, or 10. And that's a random assortment. But if you've got specific requests or things that you really need, you can always message me and I'm happy to put together a special order.
Awesome. Is that also true for the sizes for like the starfish, for instance?
Yeah, exactly. So the starfish, it's a, since they're all relatively similar, the smallest ones are probably, so this is sort of a medium size. So the smallest ones are about this big and the largest ones are just a little bit bigger. So those are just offered as a random assortment. And if you buy more than a couple of them, I try to make sure you've got a couple of each size, depending on how many you order, just so that they'll kind of make a beautiful arrangement together.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's fantastic. Do you want to also show us maybe one of your vinyl stickers real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So
it's good to see what the size is by seeing them in your
Yeah, absolutely. So the largest ones, you can see next to my head. So they're taller than
a hand, than a small hand.
Right. I'm a small-ish person. And then these ones are a little bit smaller.
Oh, yes.
The river goddess or the salmon. That's got the whole life cycle of the salmon too.
Oh, look at the little baby.
Fry to the full-size salmon and then back through the loop. And then also the camping one as well.
Very cool.
So people put these on their water bottles, on bikes as well, cars, you name it. They stay on pretty well. They're vinyl, so they're meant to last.
Yes, vinyl is a very solid material. It also has the ability to shape with heat as well. So if you put it on a surface that's not completely flat, you can take a little hairdryer and shrink it to fit. So that's a fun little tip from a former sign person for vinyl stickers.
Absolutely.
So all of those are available in Jess's shop, and you can go to her shop from our webpage, our event page, and go and find them there. Thank you.
Yeah, and all of the pieces I've shown are between $4 and $35. So they're all really super affordable.
Right. All great Christmas present or holiday present price range. And there's even room for stocking stuffers in there, I would say.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jess. I really appreciate seeing in your studio. And I love the demo with the texture. That was very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Let's see. All right, everybody. So I wanted to share also, so the last 2 artists we've looked at are ones that have joined us from the previous event, and they were here in September. And I just wanted to say that the YouTube channel has not just the September event, but we also have the holiday event update up there. So if you are interested in seeing any of the artists from our holiday event but missed it, you can go and watch either their individual segments, and then for both events, we have the full event as well, if you really want to like get some popcorn and commit to watching the entirety of it. So yeah, okay, let's get on to the most recent winner. Who have we got? Okay, so I'm seeing that we didn't get entries for the last piece. I'm not really sure what we're going to do about that. I think we will address that at the end of the show. If someone is interested in this piece that just didn't get a chance to get their name in there, would you go ahead and shoot us a message in the chat, because we definitely want to give this to someone. So we'll just, we'll say people missed it. All right, and let's move on to the next one. Let me pull up a screen share. Okay. So that was the piece from Gavin. Again, please put your name in if you would like this piece. And then, okay, so the third raffle item from our artists, Renee and Claire, who we talked to first today. This is their piece. And oh my God, I wrote the pronunciation for this guy down. Let me see, where is it? So it's Cantrellus numea, which I think is correct. I Googled it. So that's the type of coral that we're looking at. This is a 10 by 8 original piece by Renee and Claire. So, okay, let's do the entries are open now. Go ahead and submit your name, please, and your email, and we'll have 5 minutes to do that. And let me move on to bringing on our next artist. All right. All right, Gavin, it's your turn. You want to come on up? Hi.
How's it going?
Hello, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Okay, so we just met recently through a friend of ours, Shannon, who brought you to these events. She was in our first event. And I'm grateful to get to know you because you have such interesting work and subject matter in your pieces.
Thank you.
Yeah, so a lot of your stuff is sort of socially and politically driven. Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just kind of like from observation, either just in day-to-day life, and then also, yeah, just kind of the wider context of what's going on kind of around the country and around the world as well. So
yeah, and it's really valuable to have that perspective on things, and that's kind of one of the things that we give our communities as artists, is that perception of sort of the reflection of also of how we see what's going on. I think there was like a John Lennon quote that was something to that effect, that it was like, we are like a transparent eyeball and we reflect back what we see in the world.
oh, nice.
Yeah. So your work is it's such an interesting style, and there are influences that have brought you to your style over the years. Would you like to talk about some of the other artists that have influenced you in your work?
Yeah, so I'd say from a really young age, the painter N.C. Wyeth, who he painted a lot of children's book illustrations. They're like full on, you know, like oil paintings, but he did, I think he did advertisements, and he did a lot of like children's book illustrations too. But there are a lot of kind of like fantasy, I guess, but then also like a lot of like pirates and soldiers and knights and things like that. From a young age, when I started drawing, his stuff really kind of influenced me. My parents got me a book of his where he illustrated Treasure Island, and there were all these paintings that he did of pirates and stuff, and so that kind of like got me onto him. And then also I would say some of the old political cartoonists from around like the early 1900s as well. I think that's kind of a subconscious influence. Like I've seen the cartoons, you know, a lot, just like in history class in high school and stuff like that. They have samples of political cartoons. I think it's more of like a subconscious influence, but that I think influenced me as well. And then also even I think just the work, like more recent work of Mike Judge, who Beavis and Butthead and
Yes.
King of the Hill,
Yes.
especially with the backgrounds of my
and the
one of the
color
ones that we're gonna see is kind of like, you can, I think, kind of probably see the influence of that a lot more in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will kind of bring those up again when we're seeing those particular influences in the pieces that we're looking at. So your stuff is sort of multimedia, but they're illustrations, but they incorporate like watercolor you were telling me about for like establishing the gray in the background. And then you were saying that you layer in like colored pencil and also ink.
Yeah. So it's the way it typically goes, kind of like evolved over time, but the way it's been now for probably the last year or so is I'll do just a regular graphite pencil drawing, just using like a number 2 pencil, and that's to do just like the sketch, and then I go over it with pen, and then erase the pencil underneath, and then I do a watercolor wash over the whole thing, or I might leave certain things white because I want it to stand out more. But I've been doing mostly like gray washes in the back because it kind of dulls, especially for the backgrounds. It kind of dulls the colored pencil a little bit so that whatever's supposed to be in the foreground stands out a lot more.
Right. Yeah, and you're getting really rich colors out of colored pencil, which is like for most of us who have worked with colored pencil at some point, maybe in elementary school or something like that, we're not used to the quality of it being so rich and like so. So do you have a specific brand that you use when you draw that is particularly good?
Yeah, so I use Prismacolors, and they're very
Okay.
soft.
Yeah.
And I press really hard when
Press really hard.
Yeah, so like it kind of yeah, so I think that probably is one of the ways. Like I don't really go like lightly over it. If I want a lighter color, I'll use a lighter color. Like I won't try to do like a lighter sort of.
Oh, okay. So
I
you
just
make sure that
press
it's
really
like
hard.
it's like heavy use of the material. So okay, so then let me ask you, like how often do you have to sharpen your pencils while you're working? Is it like constant?
Yeah, it's pretty much like constant.
Yeah.
And I do have an electric pencil sharpener, but because I have to sharpen so often, it just kind of like gets me out of, you know, like being in my world while I'm drawing.
Well, you don't like that sound? The like like
Yeah, so I
not a feeling?
do it with like just the little hand sharpeners.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm constantly sharpening pencils, and I even like I have some little nubs here, but like
Yeah, let me see the nubs. Oh my God. Those are so much nubbier than I thought they were gonna be.
yeah, well,
That's
I have
pencil.
I have these pencil extenders.
Okay.
So you can like when it starts to get like uncomfortable to use, you can put it into the pencil extender, and then
Okay, that's like the Roach clip of the art world, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have to figure out what to do with these little nubs.
Oh my God.
I don't have tons of them, but I have, you know, they're just ever increasing. So
They're
those
so
are probably the most nubby of the
I feel
pencils.
like you should start a collection. Like, I could see that like a row of them on a shelf or something, like a little, yeah.
Maybe
That's
separating them by color so that they kind of like create some kind of effect, like in a jar or something.
right. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this the other night and planning this session. And when you said you had nubs, I was thinking like, you know, like a 2 to 3 inch. I wouldn't realize they were like these little teeny. That is so fun. But okay, so would you say that you get down to a nub like that on a pencil in like a one piece, or like how many pieces does that?
No, that would be over a few pieces.
Okay, a few pieces. All right, that seems a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
Not that
But
we need to get
since I started doing the watercolor washes, like I used to try to color like the whole, you know, background using a colored pencil, but it just got so like tedious, and you
Oh
go
yeah, and like your hand must ache.
yeah, so like then I started doing the watercolor washes. I like the way it looks better, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny what influences like style, a person's style when they're an artist. It's like there's like form and function, right? You know?
Yeah, so the watercolor, yeah, definitely like meets both of those, but I think I wouldn't have thought of wanting to do watercolor if it wasn't for just the practical need of needing a quicker way to do it and a way that wasn't you know, running down all of my pencils so quickly.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we were going to talk about a couple of your pieces, including Uncle Sam's Nephew Miles, which was the giveaway piece. And there's, we were going to talk about kind of how your concept developed and the process for that. Did you have a screen share you wanted to show us?
Yeah, I can share that here. Yes, I do. Sorry,
No worries. You can take your time. I see you have a private technician helping.
Yeah.
So maybe I can assist too. The screen share button at the bottom, and then when you pull it up, are you seeing different screens?
Yeah, and so I'm pressing desktop. There's an exclamation point, and it's saying like open system preferences.
Do you already have the file open in like preview, for instance? and if you open up the file first, then when the application's open, you should see the application as its own window.
So, yeah.
Close that and try to.
Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Where's there it is. Okay. Okay. I don't know.
Thanks for your patience, everybody. We're just having a couple of technical difficulties, but we'll figure it out.
I don't know. Maybe I can just hold it up.
Yes, hold up the sketchbook. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the files that you sent me on my end so that we can see the paintings up close. So let me just go ahead and open that up for you. So this is, all right. Can you guys see that? Are you seeing Miles?
Oh, beautiful.
There we go.
Okay, great.
Okay, this is your screenshot.
This is my desktop. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
right.
so this is the piece. And then I know you had some sketchbook stuff you wanted to share us, and I can stop the screen share so you can show us those as well. So you want to tell us a little bit about how
You're on a photo. They're on photos on my desktop.
Oh, you don't actually have the sketchbook?
No.
Okay, well, let's skip it. Let's just do the piece and we'll talk about how this piece evolved. So there is some influence in this from Norman Rockwell, I think is what you were telling me,
Yeah,
right?
so Norman Rockwell and J.C. Leyendecker both, they're sort of advertisements and, you know, fronts of magazines and stuff. They always had this like very particular way of drawing kids, well, people in general, but also kids. J.C. Leyendecker had a whole, he had a whole series of kids eating cereal, and I think they were advertisements for Kellogg's or something like that. But anyway, so I was kind of wanting to practice just like drawing kids because their faces look very different from, you know, their features are very different from adult faces, and I always draw adults. And so I was doing these, just all of these different drawings of kids' heads and faces in my sketchbooks. And they were all of this like, you know, like I'm sure most people are familiar with like Norman Rockwell's paintings, but
Oh yes, I'm sure.
They always, you know, the kids have very big eyes and kind of small noses and big foreheads and stuff. Very kind of like exaggerated features.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have, like in my sketchbooks, I have all these, you know, drawings of kids. And this piece started in one of my sketchbooks. This was one of the kids I started drawing. And then I just like kept, you know, I kept adding to it. And then it kind of evolved into this kid. But the thing behind it, the idea for the piece, the theme behind the piece kind of developed as I was drawing it.
Right. Yeah, so it's very like organic almost. It's just like you drew on this inspiration and then you created it. And I see that there's references to like contemporary, like sort of parking lots, like suburban terrain. And then we also have colonial influences in this as well.
Yeah.
And this is like one of those things that just came kind of out of your brain without a lot of pre-planning.
Yeah, not a whole lot of pre-planning on this one. And a lot of these themes, well, the shopping center theme was a thing before I started this one.
Mm-hmm.
I already did a couple more pieces with, you know, with featuring the shopping centers. But basically, my thinking is that it's kind of the result of all of this colonization and westward expansion and all of this is basically the creation of the suburbs, because it covers, you know, suburbs and parking lots cover a pretty large swath of the continent.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think I heard somewhere that if you combined all the parking lots in the country together, it would be the size of West Virginia, like the entire state of West Virginia.
Oh my God, that's a statistic.
Yeah, and there was something like 53% of people in the United States regard the places where they live as suburban. So it's a large swath of the country, you know, lives in these types of environments, and it's sort of like the end result of all of this really brutal history is creation
Yes.
of this kind of, in my opinion, kind of bland sort of types of urban environment or suburban environments that we live in.
Yeah, it like makes it all that much more wrong, it feels like.
Yeah, it's so yeah, that's kind of what it's taken from. And the sort of the part about the kid being featured in it is that I think in this country we kind of regard ourselves as always being like the sort of underdog and innocent. And there's this kind of like innocence. We like to pretend that, you know, when America was innocent, there's this kind of myth, but it's never been innocent from the very beginning. And so there's the kid who's that quintessential sort of like classic American Norman Rockwell, you know, like neighborhood kid, but he's got this like really dark, you know, monster behind him. And he's dressed in those colonial clothes from that period, you know, like 1600s kind of types of clothes. And I have the map in the back is supposed to be like an old, kind of like an old, you know, map of North America. I have the sort of features that they would have included in the maps.
Right. Yeah, the like compass rose and
Yeah.
the sea creature. I love the sea creature. That's
Yeah.
such a fun detail.
Um,
Awesome. So this kind of contrasts with another piece that we were going to share where you put a little bit more like planning into it. So I'm going to stop doing the screen share. And,
I think I might be able to, we might have gotten it fixed.
You got it? Okay, cool. Absolutely. So the other piece, I'll just kind of introduce it while you're doing that, is called Sprawl. And it definitely has some of the same suburban vibes in it, and some of the same suburban themes and the parking lot themes that have to do with it. So, and then you were saying basically with this piece though, is that you had an idea in mind going into it and we're kind of like laying out, yeah, you were laying out the
like
composition.
So it's kind of, I was trying to figure out how to draw this sort of repetitive suburban landscape in a more efficient kind of way. I don't know if you can see that at all.
Yes, we can see it.
This is what I was going to bring up before, showing the sketchbooks full of all the kids for the last piece. And even this guy over here to the right, he was kind of an early evolution of sort of like halo thing.
Yeah, you definitely see aspects of the composition from that piece.
Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, for Sprawl, so I had, here's some sketchbook stuff from the sort of evolution of that piece. The one on the left really is more representative of the sketchbook process for developing that.
Right, it's like these rolling hills.
Yeah, so at first the idea was having, because I had kind of featured this type of landscape in a couple of other pieces, but it wasn't as like pronounced, or wasn't as there wasn't a system behind it. So I wanted to do a piece that was just the landscape, that was just the background. And at first I wanted to have these hills that were kind of like behind each other, that were sort of overlapping,
like the crisscrossing, like
and then you would just get the sort of notion that it was never ending, that it was just continuing, like subdivision, parking lot, subdivision, parking lot. And so I started doing it, but as you can kind of see there, I wanted them to alternate, but when I was trying to alternate them, I was seeing that the houses were going to be concentrated on the left side and the parking lots would be on the right side.
Oh, right.
And if you try to do it where, you know, back and forth, then you're going to have, you know, 2 hills in a row with houses and then 2 hills with, so it kind of, I started to try to break it up with the roads. And so that's when it started. It's weird because when I added the roads, it made the landscape seem flat. When I started putting the roads in there, zigzagging through the piece.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Flat. So, and part of that kind of developed on the actual piece itself too.
Can we see the piece?
Kind of see there how the houses, my process for drawing out the houses.
Oh yeah, tell us about that real quick. The way that you do. So it's like you map them all out at once, and they're all like kind of shoebox style little houses, right?
Yeah. And at first, especially actually on the earlier piece, I was doing the houses in a different way. They were more kind of like individual,
Mhm.
and they had gables and, like different features.
Right.
But then I started thinking, of trying to make more of them quicker. And again, this is kind of that form and function type thing you were talking
Yeah.
about, where it's like I was trying to do it quicker, but also it like changed the sort of pattern, and then it just became this pattern that shows up in a lot of my stuff. But and they're just single like room little houses. There's not really a whole lot of feature, but you get the idea.
Right.
They're houses that are pretty much all made the same by the same people generally.
Do you have
But
the piece that we could see? Because I think that would be really helpful for seeing, like, when you're talking about the flatness and then the.
there's the actual, that's me.
Oh, there you are. There's the process. Okay. And look
there's
at all those little nubs.
and then yeah, so
Oh,
that's
okay. Yes. So
if I could let me do the
full screen. I think it's, well, not play from start. Play from current slide. It is here right under insert. There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the piece itself, and I kind of have these little names for the in this one I was kind of playing around with the idea, and I started doing it in my other drawings too, where in the backgrounds there's little names of the different stores and the developments and stuff. So
Oh, fun.
yeah, so I just have like
What's the one that's like in the left middle here, the first one you can see a sign on? What's that guy say?
Oh, with a little cross out. It's like a little pedestrian, and he's crossed out. Like, you can't walk here.
Okay.
Um,
And then on the building there, the like it looks like a CVS or a Walmart or something.
Yeah, it says Crap Emporium. I have that in a couple. I have that in a couple of different pieces too. Like in the background, you'll see like a little Crap Emporium.
Okay. To go get your crap. It's here at the
Yeah.
Crap Emporium.
And then Whimpering Woods is the name of this little subdivision here.
Oh, nice. Oh.
And then I started doing I started putting these little flailing arm guys.
Oh, from like a used car lot or something.
Yeah, and there's actually one of them in the previous piece too. There's a tiny little one that's like,
oh, how funny.
there. And then with this one too, I originally, like with the original piece, I wanted them to continue on just forever throughout the piece. But towards the end, I started, I put in that freeway in the back, but then I included, because I thought it would be good to have a horizon, but I wanted you to continue to get the impression that that it's continuing, the sprawl is continuing, and so it's a little construction site back there. So they're little like backhoes and that are working on continuing to expand out. But you can see how it turned from being originally the intention was to make them like hills.
Like hills, yeah.
But then it kind of, when I added the roads, it kind of started to turn them into more of a flat landscape.
I think it works better though, because like hills is very like country-esque, and then having this like, it's like they bulldozed all the hills and then put in this suburban sprawl instead. Yeah.
Something more
It's
bleak
very
about
cool.
the flat sort of landscape than about something with with hills that kind of roll. It kind of does more for the eye when you see different changes in elevation, but when it's just nothing but flat, it kind of makes it a little bit more bleak, less interesting, I guess.
Absolutely. It definitely communicates the like a message of the piece. So let's move on to our last one, Hell or High Water, which is arguably my favorite of this particular collection, because it's so like relatable right now. There's so much going on with this that is like so current for like our experiences. So can you kind of tell us like, what started this piece? Like when were you like, I gotta make this?
So actually it was after hearing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez after the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. she had this, I think it was like a, I don't know, maybe 20-minute long like address kind of that she posted on social media. And just saying that like between now and the election, like we all have to like mobilize, utilize your talents, whatever talent you have to like, you know, get other people to vote, raise awareness about, you know, voting and getting out there and making sure that your voice is heard. And so, and she mentioned specifically artists as well. She mentioned like artists definitely have something to contribute. So then I thought, well, I should create a, you know, like a get out the vote poster and post it, you know, just to like post it on social media and then have people feel free to be able to post it to their own networks and stuff too.
Absolutely.
And the concept comes from all of the issues with the changes to the, or proposed changes to the USPS, and how a lot of, you know, elections experts were saying like this is gonna like really make it a lot harder for vote by mail, especially during the pandemic, you know, to happen and for people to get their votes in on time. And so there's this kind of like sense of urgency around the USPS. Yeah, that's why I wanted to have feature a USPS truck in there.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of controversial stuff going on. Well, I mean, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but basically they've been sort of trying to defund the USPS, and it's very important for the election process this time around.
Yeah.
I also love that this has references to COVID. Everybody's wearing a mask in this, and they're all outside breezing along. There's plenty of airflow as this vehicle's moving by. But then there's also the forest fires and the floods that we're seeing on the different coasts.
Yeah, so on the right side of the picture you can see, and I did it as a as like when you look at a map, you'll see, you know, usually you know, if it's a north, south, east, west kind of, you'll see the east is always on the right and the west is, you know, on the left. So in the picture I kind of wanted to lay it out in that way, so you kind of think of it that way. But the floods mainly going on in the east and in the south, and then you know, the fires happening in the western United States. So representing climate change and the growing urgency around that every year that we don't you know, don't address it. So I wanted to put that in there. And then also a reference to the Black Lives Matter movement and what was happening over the summer, and it's continuing to happen now, as well as just you know, holding police and law enforcement accountable. So I have the guy holding the flag there, having him very kind of front and center at the top of the truck. And so it's kind of hitting on a number of different issues.
Yes.
You know, in the
yeah, it's like a 2020 like impact poster all together, all these different references and the voting. So you have prints of this up in your shop, and you're contributing a portion of the proceeds to
all of the proceeds.
All the proceeds to a specific cause. You want to tell us a little bit about that cause?
Yeah, so as I'm sure like most of you know, like after the November 3rd election in Georgia, there's the runoff election that's coming up, the race for the Senate. Both Senate seats in Georgia are up for, you know, they're both going to a runoff. And so it determines basically who gets majority in the Senate, which is crucial to, you know, our newly, you know, Democratic president being able to get anything done, including getting you know, cabinet positions filled, to have, you know, to have that majority in the Senate. So if these two Senate seats in Georgia are won by the two Democratic candidates, John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock, then it would make it a 50-50 split in the Senate, and then Kamala Harris as the vice president would get the tie-breaking vote on it. So it would be, you know,
that would be really beneficial for the things that we want to do as far as progress goes in this country, and sort of undoing.
So I was thinking of, you know, I want to contribute money to that, at least until January 5th when the runoff is, to get the vote out, you know, to you know, help register people to vote and get people out voting in Georgia. So I wanted to contribute to that. And then specifically, I was thinking, I don't want to just contribute to the Democratic National Convention. I wanted to target it more specifically to Georgia and what's happening there. So there's an organization that Stacey Abrams started in Georgia called Fair Fight.
Okay.
And it really started after the 2018 elections. There was large-scale voter disenfranchisement, purging people off of the voter rolls in Georgia. And so Fair Fight was formed to stage legal battles against the state of Georgia in order to overturn some of these laws that were making it more difficult for people, and especially people of color, to be able to vote in Georgia. And I mean, one of the reasons why Joe Biden won there is because of the efforts of Stacey Abrams and that organization, and many others as well. So I'm going to be donating all proceeds from selling this piece to that organization to help win those 2 Senate seats, and also to contribute to the legal battles that the organization is fighting for voting.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. That's really great. We appreciate that as in terms of righting wrongs and justice and being able to vote, encouraging all those things. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. So each of the pieces that Gavin has shared with us today are all available up in his shop, which you can access through our webpage. We will give you the link again at the end, but it's also up at the very top of the chat. You can find it there. Thank you so much for joining us, Gavin. That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for
hanging in.
Technical difficulties.
These things happen. It's Zoom, we got through it. It's great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, that was fantastic. And so yeah, just some quick reminders. So Fair Fight, which was the cause that Gavin was just telling us about, there's some information about that also on our page. So when you go to there, you can go down to Gavin's little bio section, and you'll see at the bottom that there's a section about Fair Fight where you can get to their website and contribute directly if you want to, or just see what they're about. And then again, all the shops for the artists are posted up there. The tip button is also on the page as well. So, okay, so that's the last of our artists, but I also have some stuff that I want to talk to you about. So this is the Patreon launch event. Well, first let me do the final drawing. Let's tell you who the drawing winner is, and then we'll come back to what I have to say. So our last drawing winner for the artwork is Stacy McCormack. You have won a beautiful original painting by Renee and Claire. And yeah, I also have a little something just for the Patreon launch people. Let's see. So for everybody that's here, I'm not seeing what I should be seeing. Here it is. Okay, great. Found it. All right, so I have one of these awesome holographic Omni Open Studio stickers that I'm giving away. And if someone would like to get one of these, you can sign up now, put your name in the raffle and your email, and we'll be sending them off to you. And that'll tell people that you were here, you were part of the Patreon launch event, you supported Omni Open Studios, and that you're just generally an awesome person. So yeah, that's what we've got going. The raffle is now open. Submit your names, please. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Patreon. So as I said before, the main goals of Omni Open Studios is to support artists. And one of the ways that we do that is how we fund this. So rather than having artists pay to be part of this as participants, and rather than having audience members pay a ticket fee in order to come and view it, we have a Patreon set up that allows people to contribute what they can afford to Omni Open Studios. And instead of demanding, we are asking for the help to continue to make these awesome events and to continue doing what we're doing with our cause. So for those of you who don't know what Patreon is, I would like to tell you a little bit about it. So Patreon is a platform that allows creators and artists to connect directly with the communities that are interested in them. And basically it's a monthly amount of money that the contributors give that the artists can rely on. And it contributes to less stress as far as the gig economy goes for artists and creators, because it's tough and it's not consistent when you receive payment as an artist. So the way that this works is that they give the support in exchange for benefits that the artist provides. So those benefits can include things like behind the scenes videos, or it can include process videos, or just kind of like a peek inside their studio. It just kind of makes them all part of creating the art, so they become sort of a community. So for our Patreon community, what we have is we have these artist videos that we're going to be offering once a month. So I'll be collaborating with an artist. We're putting together basically like a mini doc about one of their projects, and then we'll be releasing those to the Patreon. We also have art business blogs that I'm writing that have useful information for artists about how to price their work or how to list it, things like that. And then we have behind the scenes content. We have VIP Q&A sessions that we're going to be doing after the event, starting with our first one in March of 2021. We'll also have exclusive merch, much like the sticker that I just showed you guys. And then there's also a collectible art category, which is one of the higher tiers, but basically the way that works is that people can slowly collect art from different artists and guarantee that one of our artists makes a sale every month, which is just a fantastic way to contribute. And then the most important part is that you're supporting this awesome online art community and contributing to making sure that we can keep making things together. So our Patreon's very inclusive. Our very first tier just starts at $1 a month. So that's $12 a year, which did some research on Amazon this morning, and that is approximately the same price as a 2.5 Men's Season 12 DVD set. So what I'm proposing is that you skip Season 12, you just rewatch Season 11, and then give the money to us instead, because that's the price range that we're talking about here, just in a year of supporting Omni Open Studios. We are also offering a special offer right now. So that beautiful sticker that you saw, everybody who joins the Patreon between now and January 1st, 2021 will receive one of these beautiful holographic stickers you can put on your skateboard or your water bottle, and people will know that you are one of the first people to contribute to Omni Open Studios. And before I press on with a few more announcements, I just want to leave you guys with this thought about kind of the goals of Omni Open Studios. So I have this little phrase that I've been popping around in some of the blogs I'm writing called opportunities are not pie. And the idea behind that is that in the competitive art market, where we are encouraged to think about each other as competition, we can choose not to do that. And so rather than think about fellow artists as your competition and that they're taking a limited number of opportunities that you won't have access to if someone else gets it, I propose that instead we come together, we build our own opportunities, and we make these opportunities available to us and then to the people that we work with, which is exactly what Omni Open Studios is all about. This is something that's run by artists, it's for artists, it's a collaboration, and it's not done in the kind of commercial way that most galleries and art markets are put together. So that's what we're doing. That's what you're supporting if you choose to support us. So real quick, I would like to put up our email list on the chat. So you can go ahead and join our email list if you would like to get more information about upcoming events, if you would like to participate in an upcoming event, or if you'd like to do an artist video, say you're an artist, or if you know an artist and would like to pass that along to them. The email list is a really good way to keep in contact with us. So let's announce the final winner for our sticker. Did I talk long enough for the 5 minutes to go by? Maybe I didn't. I'll give it a couple more minutes and then I'll announce the sticker. That's okay, because I have another reminder. So the other reminders are to go back to the website, which I will, okay, there you go, I see it closed, awesome. The website will appear in the chat, and then you can go to the website and you can see the artist shop, so you can see the causes that we're supporting, you can see a link to the Patreon, you can join the email list, you can tip the artist. These are all things you'll be able to do from the event page that you use to get here, and the link will be popping up in the chat shortly. So definitely go and check out all of that. And then with that in mind, I would love to announce the final winner for our stickers. And let's also invite the artists back. We'll invite them back. And then when I get the announce, aha, I have it. So artists, please come join me. Come up here on the stage, on the Zoom stage. Hi guys. So our final winner for the awesome holographic sticker is a good friend of mine, Emily Miller. You have a sticker, which is totally appropriate because you've been part of this from the very beginning. So congratulations, Emily, you've won yourself a sticker. Everybody who won something today, the artist will contact you via the email that you have given us, and they will figure out the shipping and you'll go from there. So that's pretty much it. That's our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Please shop in the shops and contribute to the causes and maybe even join the Patreon, that would be fantastic. We love that you were here today. Can you guys talk? I can't hear any of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
Thank you
Arya.
everyone for coming. We're so happy you were here. It's great to share the work with people and to have an audience and to meet other artists.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had a really good day. It was a shorter event than usual, but that's fine with me because I just did one last week. So thank you guys for being here. It was really great to hear from each and every one of you, and you have such fantastic stuff that you're doing, such cool things.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And hopefully we'll be able to continue doing these going forward. That's the plan. At least until the end of the pandemic, I'm sure we should be able to keep doing them. So yeah. So I don't know. How's Gizmo doing? He's hanging in there?
Good. Yeah, he's wishing that we can just go snuggle.
Oh, okay. Well,
Very sweet and cuddling with me.
we should definitely get a photo too of all of the artists here. Do you guys want to do that now? Does that sound good?
Sure.
Dad, do you want to join us for the photo? I don't know if we'll see you though. You might just be the plants.
Yeah, it wasn't working before. Let's take a look and see if
Let's
it works.
try it. Yeah, let's see.
Maybe I'll just turn the.
Yeah,
I'm still not there. Let me
you
see if I
turn
can.
the-
Let me see if I can fix that. I'm working on that. Why is
Having
this
this
not?
problem with someone's camera the other day too. Was that Gavin that was having we had the weird screen. Zoom's so funky.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'm using a different laptop too than I usually use.
Aha, yeah.
Full disclosure.
Well, they're like these virtual backgrounds, and I think sometimes they work and sometimes they cover you up entirely and it just is a greenhouse. So
You get completely swamped in your own thing.
are you seeing how to turn that off?
I am. It is a little bit different.
Okay,
Oh, you know what? I see what the problem is.
Oh, it's
now.
the dock cam. So there isn't a
It's
human
the-
in there. That makes
No,
a
it's
lot of
the-
sense. Yes.
The dock cam is so you can see a little bit of a keyboard there. Hang on.
That makes more sense. So what we were looking at was a keyboard in the greenhouse, guys.
I've been scanning a whole bunch of family pictures and documents
Very
to
important things.
yeah, and I think I'm the only person. I think the only person that's going to have the inspiration and time to do it. So I've been doing it, but I left the dock camera for some reason takes precedence over the main camera.
Is your regular camera going to come up?
Can't you see me now?
Nope.
Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Apparently when I'm in settings, it does.
This is like the troubleshoot Omni Open
There
Studio.
you go.
Oh, there
How's
you go.
that? That's better.
Awesome. Oh, I forgot to share
Yeah.
the shirt. We're wearing the Omni Open Studio shirt. That's okay. We didn't.
Awesome.
Yep. These are shirts that she made for us that say Omni Open Studios on them. Okay, guys, I've got my screen capture up. Let's do it. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, and we're gonna do 2 more so we can get a good one. Let's see. All right, 3, 2, 1. And then 1 more. Gizmo, can you look over here? That's never gonna happen.
What do you think?
I
I want a nap.
All right, 3.
I can rotate my body. Maybe
Oh, there you go. That's closer. Okay.
Not a fan. Oops.
Oop. 3, 2,
Whoa.
1.
There you go. That was pretty good.
We've mostly got a dog. Okay, thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for being here. Hey, thanks for watching. For more videos like this, go to the link here. And to support us, you can join the Patreon by going to the link below.